Are you expecting Quentin to contribute right away, or is he someone that you think will probably bring him along slowly?
Well, we're very excited that we drafted Quentin Johnston. As for his forecasting and where he's going to fit in, I know that we're really excited to have him. He comes into a wide receiver room that is as good as any in the NFL. There's so many good mentors for him in that room with two of the best receivers in the game, and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and then a young receiver, Josh Palmer, who we think is fantastic. So all Quentin needs to do is come be himself. That's why we drafted him, and we're excited to have him. And, the big thing is just getting him in our building and, having him, be a part of the team. And how that takes shape, there's a lot of time between now and when we play to define all that. But we're super excited to have him.
You guys made the selection. We asked Derwin James in here what he wanted you guys to do in the draft, and he said he didn't care if it was an offensive or defensive player. He just wanted you to select someone that had that dog in him.
Yeah.
Is that how you kind of see this guy's mentality, Quentin's mentality?
It sounds like me. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. That sounds like me, sounds like Tom, sounds like Dean Spanos. That sounds like a guy like we want. So that fits the description. When you guys meet Quentin Johnston, you're gonna know why he's here. Just like when you guys met Zion Johnson last year, and just like the year before when you met Rashawn Slater. So when he walks in a room, you're gonna feel him right away. He's an outstanding young man. Outstanding college career, meant a lot to TCU, and it was a really fun eval to go through it with our coaching staff, with our personnel department, and like I said, we're really glad that he's a teammate of Derwin James.
What elements of his game are you most excited about?
Well, I think he's a weapon to score the ball anytime he touches it. There are very few receivers in the game who are threats to score the ball whenever they have it. He can do it in the deep part of the field outside the red line. He can do it after the catch. He was second in college football in yards after the catch, but he's also an outstanding player outside the red line. He's 6'3", 210 plus pounds, over 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad. He's not a build speed player. He's very sudden. And, like I said, the fact that he can score the football from anywhere is very attractive. And I think what you saw at TCU, he elevated that entire football team. I thought in the three biggest games of the season, in the Kansas State game, the Michigan game, and the Georgia game, I thought he was the best player on the field. And that's saying a lot because there were a couple first-round picks tonight on all those teams, that they were playing against. So, I just think, he's a captain, outstanding makeup, and we're really fired up about him.
Was Kellen Moore in the room with you guys tonight?
Yeah, all of our coaches were.
Kellen's reaction, you guys?
Yeah, I think all of our entire coaching staff is involved in that process. Our defensive coaches watch offensive players too to kind of cross-check it. So this is a guy that we had really strong grades on. There's a really high opinion of him. I know that our defensive coaches thought this guy was fantastic. As tough of a cover, when we're evaluating the defensive players in the draft, Quentin just kept showing up, and that wasn't just this year. It was in years, prior too. But this guy was fantastic. I think he's going to be a great fit for our team, and really adds a dimension that I think can make us really exciting on offense.
Was that the speed that you wanted to add on offense?
Not just speed, just playmaking. Lots been made about speed, but it's being able to make plays with the ball in your hand. I think what he gives us the run after catch element that's real. Like I said, for him to average, 8.9 yards after the catch, that's, I think, an element of our offense that we needed. But he fits the mold of a pro receiver playing outside the red line and what that forces defenses to do and how they play you. When you have legit people that can play outside, that really tilts the coverage, lightens the box inside, and then creates more room for the guys on the interior like Keenan, like Gerald, like Austin. So very unique player, and to add someone of his caliber with the type of production, and then a captain, we're very excited about the pick.
Rising speed, did that sit out to you, him being so tall, and then also being
just the production on the film. I mean, in every game, this guy's scoring the football. He's a threat to go from anywhere. I think for a big guy, he's not a build speed player. This guy can catch a hitch. He can catch, a hinge outside. And when he catches it, he's very sudden. And I think he surprises people because he is a bigger guy. And they're thinking, hey, maybe I have a chance at this. But then he moves like a much smaller player with the ball in his hands. And, he's pulling away from guys. In Michigan, DJ Turner, he was 4.2 something, the DB. and he catches a shallow cross and goes, 70-plus yards for a touchdown, in the Fiesta Bowl. So you're seeing that all over the movie. So I think that's really exciting, and, we're excited to add him to our group.
Have you heard from Justin since making the pick?
Just text him. Justin, he doesn't say a lot, but, he's excited. And, again, I think, the great situation for Quentin is to be able to come in and learn from a Mike Williams, from a Keenan Allen, guys who have accomplished so much, and, a Josh Palmer. I think it's just a great opportunity for him to come in and learn the game, not have a lot of pressure on him. But then, hey, there's a great opportunity with our quarterback, with our offensive line, with our skill players. There'll be enough touches for everybody.
You and Thomas both talked about the yards after the catch that he brings. Is it fair to say that that's what differentiates him from the guys that maybe are already in the room?
Yeah, and I think, just his ability to play outside the red line and play above the rim outside, and then, inside, be able to really take it a long ways. When you can throw something short, whether it's a speed sweep, something short, whether it's a hitch, shallow cross, slant, and then be able to take it a long ways. We felt like that was a winning edge for him. And you've heard me talk about scoring the football and how that's something that I think really separates Mike from a lot of the rest of the receivers in the NFL, is that he can score it. And I think that this guy can do the same thing.
Quentin mentioned the combine interview, that he thought he made a great impression with you guys. Just what about that stood out?
There's sometimes where you don't learn anything from those interviews, and then there's sometimes where you just have a feeling from a guy that, man, I'd like to join up with him. And I think there's sometimes when a guy leaves a 15-minute interview and you look at each other and say, yeah, that's one of us. And that's how we felt. And then, all it is a feeling, and then you got to dive deep into the player. But it's one of those impressions that he made on us where there's just a focus, there's a maturity, there's a pride, I think, in what he did for TCU. There's a humility for being such a special player. Kind of reminds me of our guys. We have two $20 million receivers who is as humble as any in the NFL. And so that really stood out to us. And, again, as the general manager, Derwin James, said, he is a dog. He's a guy that in the premium games was playing at a premium level. And you need that from your players, from your weapons, is when the lights are the brightest that you're showing up. And he did that at TCU.
In late February in the combine, Brandon, you guys are just beginning your evaluations and knowing the players and stuff. How much did you know about him before the combine, and then it's like, let's dig more on this guy after the interview?
Yeah, I tell you, just in passing, I saw a lot of the Fiesta Bowl. I saw a lot of that game, and it stood out to me just probably what everybody else saw that day. And so I think I was attracted to his play style in that game because I have a lot of respect for Michigan's defense. So just seeing TCU, a smaller school, to be able to go play like that and win that game, it just, I think that gets your process started. There's sometimes where you can just catch a game and maybe you didn't know a lot about a player and you just catch a performance and you're like, yeah, let me dive into this. And to keep going further, what he meant to that program and being a captain. And I think talking to other TCU players in the draft process, because they have a really good team. There's a reason why they went to the national championship game. Sonny did a great job coaching that team. But when you talk to the players in the TCU program, what Q meant to that team, I think says a lot about his makeup. And again, that's another quality that we think is really, going to separate him from the rest.
He had 8 drops last season. How did that factor into the evaluation? And I guess why were you guys sort of comfortable taking him at this spot?
I just think the overall production of the player. There's very few guys that are that size speed that have that type of productivity, again, outside the red line and then after the catch. And we felt like in assessing him catching the football, there are a lot of catches outside the red line, with guys contested all over him that not very many people could make. And so there were a couple, drops on the in breaks and stuff like that, but it wasn't a concern for us. There are no perfect players. All these guys have something, but we just really feel strongly about this guy. Just the totality of his skill set, height, weight, speed, the character. We're just really happy that he's a Charger.
Just the physical tools also, because I think there was one draft guide that said he's got every uncoachable physical tool that there can be.
Yeah, I think the way that the college game's being played, you're seeing less and less of these guys that type of size that have, the size that I think is, this is a big man's game, and it always will be. And so, when you have a big guy like that does not move like a big guy, he moves like a much smaller person because he's got the quickness in the short area. But then he's got the power that you're sort of looking for, both power outside and the power after the catch. These guys are hard to find. And so when you factor in all the physical skills with the production, because this guy's one of the most productive college players out there, and then his makeup, we just felt like it was a good decision.
Surprised that a receiver didn't go till 20, and then all of a sudden the run began.
I don't know. It's the NFL draft. I don't know if I'm surprised by anything. The NFL, anything can happen, and I'm sure the rest of the draft, that will be no exception.